Meanwhile, Hajj, the annual pilgrimage for Muslims to the city of Mecca, has begun. The pilgrimage this year will be the largest since Saudi Arabia scrapped the traditional practice of banning women unaccompanied by a male relative.
The Kaaba, a site of deep significance, is witnessing events that will leave you in awe. Recently, because of heavy rain and storms, streets are flooded. But one thing for sure, that it is something more than just weather. So is it a sign, a warning, or simply nature's doing? Well, let's find out. The Kaaba has been a focal point for millions of people for centuries. It is a cube-shaped building, about 14 meters tall, draped in a black silk cloth embroidered with gold. This cloth is known as the kiswah and is replaced annually. The Kaaba is central to the Islamic faith. It's the direction Muslims face during their daily prayers. It is said to have been originally constructed by Adam, the first human, and later rebuilt by Abraham and his son Ishmael. A celestial object, the black stone, is embedded in one of its corners, believed to have been sent from heaven. Now, imagine a place so revered undergoing a significant change. What could be the reason for altering such a sacred site? The answer lies in the need for modernization and facilitation. The Grand Mosque, which houses the Kaaba, is set to be divided into coded regions. This decision aims to streamline the movement of pilgrims, especially during the Hajj, which is an annual Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca and a mandatory religious duty for Muslims. This new system of coded regions is expected to help manage the vast crowds more efficiently. The idea was born out of a collaboration between the Saudi Postal and Logistics Company and the general authority responsible for the two holy mosques. Their goal is to enhance the services provided to the pilgrims, ensuring a smoother and more organized pilgrimage experience. The area around the Kaaba is undergoing a transformation to make it more accessible and easier to navigate for the millions who visit each year. These changes are part of a larger effort to enhance the experience of pilgrims and ensure the highest standards of service throughout the mosque. One of the key updates is the introduction of coded areas. These are designed to help visitors understand their location in relation to the Kaaba and the rest of the mosque. This system is not only about guidance but also about managing the flow of people and ensuring that staff are distributed effectively to meet the needs of the mosque's operations. But why are these changes necessary? Well, consider this fact. According to TK al-Rabeah, the Saudi Minister of Hajj and Umrah, 13.5 million individuals traveled to perform Umrah in the previous year. That's a staggering number, and it highlights the importance of having a well-organized system in place. Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Islam, has been proactive in opening new facilities and simplifying the process for Muslims wishing to perform Umrah. Now, individuals with visas can enter the kingdom by land, air, or sea, and Saudi citizens can invite friends from other countries to join them in performing Umrah. There's also been a significant change for female pilgrims. They are no longer required to be accompanied by male guardians on their journeys. This move towards greater inclusivity is part of a broader shift in the country's approach to hosting pilgrims. In 2018, the area was struck by sandstorms. These weren't just any storms, they were powerful enough to lift sand and dust high into the air, creating a haze of particles. The impact was significant, not only disrupting religious practices, but also damaging the Kaaba's exterior. The following year, the situation didn't improve. The sandstorms left a thick layer on the Kaaba, altering its appearance. Then came the rains of 2020. Mecca saw floods that made it difficult for pilgrims to perform their rituals. The floodwaters threatened to damage the structure further, making the pilgrimage challenging, sometimes even impossible. But why does this matter? The Kaaba is not just a building. It's a symbol of unity for Muslims worldwide. When natural disasters strike, it's not just the physical structure that's affected, it's the hearts of millions. The city has also experienced earthquakes, ranging from small tremors to larger quakes that pose a risk to the Kaaba and surrounding buildings. In the past year, heavy rains caused flash floods, inundating streets and complicating life in the city. Historical sites, like the Great Mosque of Mecca, were at risk of severe damage. These events have impacted not only religious gatherings, but also the daily lives of residents and visitors, with blocked streets and delayed public transport. Efforts to rescue and provide relief are hampered by the floodwaters from large rivers. It's a struggle to maintain the sanctity and safety of one of Islam's holiest sites. How can this revered place be preserved against the forces of nature? It's a challenge that requires attention, care, and perhaps new solutions to protect the Kaaba and ensure the safety of all who visit this sacred site. The Muslim community and local government are facing a unique challenge. They must collaborate to address and resolve these natural issues. Alongside these natural occurrences, a series of peculiar events have taken place at the Kaaba, sparking both intrigue and debate. During the reign of the Ramadan dynasty, a massive swarm of locusts descended upon the Great Mosque. These insects infiltrated the sacred space, settling on the walls and ceilings. The government had to mobilize teams of experts to apply pesticides and eliminate the locusts, which posed both a nuisance and a health risk. This event has led to a flurry of questions and a sense of awe surrounding the Kaaba. People are concerned about how it will impact religious ceremonies in the future. In addition to these strange natural events, a loud, clear sound reverberated through the city during Ramadan. It resembled the sound of a trumpet being played. This sound, which lasted for about 30 seconds, caused fear and worry among the people. Many recorded it on their cell phones, and the videos that were shared on social networks immediately garnered significant attention. The sound lasted for about 30 seconds. Various theories have been proposed to explain this strange sound. Some believe it's caused by natural phenomena like lightning or the sound of a large animal. Others interpret it as a sign of something more significant, such as an omen or something magical. There are those who suspect it might be a prank by non-believers, and others who think the sound might have been generated by a computer program or an audio device. This theory suggests that a group of people may be seeking media attention or trying to create a sensation out of nothing. Alternatively, some people think this might be the work of a group of individuals aiming to cause trouble or harm religious views. From a different perspective, the sound could be a message from God, urging people to change their ways and signaling the end of the world. Some people believe that natural disasters like earthquakes could be signs of God's second coming. They base this idea on biblical passages like Matthew 24:6-8, where Jesus talks about nations rising against nations, famines, and earthquakes as the beginning of sorrows. Matthew 24:14 is used to demonstrate that the good news about God's kingdom will be spread all over the world. Now, before we continue with this story, please take a moment to like and subscribe for more content like this. Your support means a lot to us. The Kaaba is undergoing changes that are hard to believe. And something is happening to it? Something so profound that it could potentially alter the course of history? This isn't a physical change, but a spiritual one. It's a shift that's being felt by the millions who turn their faces towards it in prayer every day. The transformation is subtle, yet profound. It's not something you can see with your eyes, but something you can feel in your heart. It's a call to return to the teachings of the faith, a call to ask for forgiveness, a call to prepare for the day of judgment. The signs are there for those who know where to look. The Quran and Hadith talk about the end times, about the Antichrist coming, about Jesus returning, about trumpets playing. These signs are being seen in the current decline in morality and society around the world, in the ongoing wars and battles in the Middle East and other places. These signs are being interpreted by some as divine messages from Allah, urging people to turn away from their sins and prepare for the coming day of judgment. But what does this mean for the average believer? It means a return to the teachings of the faith, a call to ask Allah for forgiveness. It's a call to action, a call to change. It's a call to return to the roots of the faith, to the teachings of the Quran and Hadith. It's a call to prepare for the end times, to turn away from sin and seek forgiveness. And as we witness this transformation, let us remember the words of Mark 16:15, where Jesus tells his friends to tell everyone about the gospel. This is thought to be the sixth sign that the Lord will come back. Some Muslims see these events as divine signs from Allah, telling people to turn away from their sins and get ready for the day of judgment that is coming soon. So, let's heed the call. Let's return to the teachings of our faith, ask Allah for forgiveness, and prepare for the day of judgment. The world is in a troubled state. The prophetic signs we see around us are making the call for spiritual thought and adherence to Islam's rules even stronger. Some followers, from a Christian perspective, see these events as signs that Jesus will return soon. They believe that Jesus will come back to establish his heavenly kingdom. Seeing these things as signs from God shows the importance of faith and how people look forward to a changing future. There's a mysterious vibration in the air that makes you feel both spooked and interested. Even though I'm not aware of the rumors circulating outside these walls, my belief remains strong. You shouldn't fear this strange sound. Instead, you should welcome it with excitement. It's like a musical introduction signaling the start of something amazing. Did you know that there are stories in the Bible about turning away from sin, being healed, and being accepted by God? Chapter 23 of Peter tells an interesting story called "He Learned Forgiveness from His Master." Peter would never forget how scared he felt when Jesus looked at him. Were Jesus' eyes filled with anger or disappointment? That's all the Bible says about it in Luke 22:61. But that one look was enough for Peter to understand how badly he had messed it up. Peter knew he had just done what Jesus had warned him not to do, which was to reject his beloved master. This was the mistake he had vowed never to make. It could have been the worst time of his life. But Peter did not give up because he had a strong faith. He was able to get back up after he did something wrong. One of the most important things Jesus taught him was how to forgive others. But do you know about Peter's question to Jesus? Peter asked, "How many times must I forgive my brother who sins against me?" This question was asked 6 months ago. Peter thought that forgiving 7 times would be generous, as the religious leaders of his time said that you only had to forgive 3 times. But Jesus had a different answer. He said, not 7 times, but 77 times. This response, recorded in Matthew 18:21-22, may have seemed like Jesus was telling Peter to keep a tally of how many times others hurt him. But that wasn't Jesus' intention. When he increased the number from 7 to 77, he was saying that love doesn't put a limit on forgiveness. In 1 Corinthians 13:45, Jesus showed that Peter was influenced by the spirit of racism and intolerance that was prevalent at the time. People often calculated each act of forgiveness very carefully, as if they were recording it in a book. But those who aspire to be like God should always be kind and ready to forgive others. Did Peter truly understand what he was taught? There are times when we fully grasp the importance of forgiving others, especially when we ourselves need to be forgiven. The events leading up to Jesus' death provide a clear example of this. Peter made many mistakes during those difficult times and needed his leaders' forgiveness. On Jesus' last night on earth, he still had much to teach his disciples. One of those lessons was humility. Jesus demonstrated humility by washing their feet, a task typically performed by lowly slaves. At first, Peter didn't trust Jesus and refused to let him wash his feet. Then he asked Jesus to wash his hands, head, and feet too, as recorded in John 13:1-17. Jesus taught his disciples about forgiveness and humility, 2 important virtues in Christian teachings. Peter promised to stay by Jesus' side, even if it meant death. Yet Jesus knew Peter would deny knowing him 3 times before the rooster crowed twice that night. True to Jesus' words, Peter did deny him. Despite this, Jesus didn't get angry with Peter. Instead, he saw the potential in Peter and prayed for his faith to remain strong. Jesus believed Peter would overcome his flaws and help others. Jesus had told him, "I have prayed for you so that your faith will not fail. And when you return, strengthen your brothers." Later, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus asked Peter, James, and John to stay awake while he prayed. They fell asleep repeatedly, even as Jesus faced great anguish. When Jesus said, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak," he expressed understanding and forgiveness. In a tense moment, when armed people came to arrest Jesus, Peter reacted impulsively, cutting off the ear of the high priest's servant. Jesus corrected him, healed the servant, and spoke against violence. This incident, and others like it, demonstrate Jesus' repeated forgiveness towards Peter. It reminds us that everyone makes mistakes and needs forgiveness. That night, Peter faced another test. As Jesus was arrested, Peter initially stood by, then fled. However, he didn't go far, stopping near the house of Annas, the former high priest. Peter was brave. He followed Jesus from afar when Jesus was taken away. Despite the crowd having weapons, Peter wasn't scared. He had previously stated his readiness to die for his master. But has he shown loyalty since then? Many people today follow Jesus from afar, unseen. Peter believed the right way to follow Jesus was to stay close and emulate his actions. He followed Jesus to the house of a rich and powerful high priest. Despite being turned away at the gate, he was led in by John. Peter's master forgave him many times. This shows that we all sin and need mercy every day. Peter did worse things that same night. He watched as the crowd tied Jesus up and then ran away. But Peter and John didn't run away immediately. They stopped near the house of a former high priest. Peter found himself at the grand residence of Caiaphas, a high priest in Jerusalem. The house, known for its beauty, had a yard in the middle, surrounded by walls. Peter attempted to enter but was initially denied access. John intervened and convinced the doorkeeper to let Peter in. However, Peter chose to stay in the yard, where he could observe the proceedings from a distance. He watched as false witnesses came and went during Jesus' trial. A girl recognized Peter in the firelight and accused him of being with Jesus. Shocked, Peter denied knowing Jesus. Another girl spotted him and made a similar accusation. Peter, standing near the gate to avoid detection, vehemently denied knowing Jesus. Peter's denial of Jesus was predicted by Jesus himself earlier. Despite hearing a rooster crow, a sign of his denial, Peter was too frightened to remember Jesus' prediction. When a relative of Malchus, whose ear Peter had cut off, confronted him, Peter denied knowing Jesus for the third time. The rooster crowed again, marking Peter's third denial. Seeing Jesus looking at him from the balcony, Peter realized his mistake. Mentioned in Mark 14:72 and Luke 22:61-6. Overwhelmed with guilt, he left the place, his eyes filled with tears. It's a reminder that even the most devoted can falter under pressure, leading to feelings of guilt and remorse. Peter woke up to a tough day. He had hurt his boss, and it was his boss's last day. But Peter didn't lose hope. He met with friends, which shows in Luke 24:33. They all felt bad about their actions, but they supported each other. Peter showed strong faith by joining them. Why is it good to stay connected during hard times? Proverbs 24:16 says, "Even if good people fall, they get up again." It's wise to stay with friends when sad, as Proverbs 18:1 advises. With friends, Peter found out Jesus' body was gone from the tomb. He and John ran there. John got there first but waited outside. Peter went in and saw the empty grave. According to Luke 24:5-11, at first, Peter didn't believe Jesus was alive, despite the women's stories of angels. But by day's end, he was convinced. People said Jesus was alive and had appeared to Simon. As mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15:5, Peter, also known as Simon and Cephas, learned from this. Paul mentioned Jesus appeared to Peter alone. Peter's lesson is to believe in forgiveness and to forgive others. But before leaving, let us know your opinion in the comment section below. And if you find this video informative, then don't forget to hit that like button. Also subscribe to our channel for more future content. Meanwhile, thanks for watching.